The Pain in Our Head podcast contains themes of coarse language, adult themes, and the discussion of mental health themes. Some content may be emotionally challenging. If you or someone you know is at risk, please visit the description for mental health and suicide prevention contacts. Enjoy the show. What's going on, everyone? Caleb here.
Howdy, I'm Christian.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Pain in Our Head podcast. Exciting day to be doing this. It's Anzac Day.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. Public holiday, which is good. Day off for lots of people. So you probably, if you're listening, you probably had a day off on Thursday, and I hope you enjoyed your day. Yeah. The Anzac Day's always been big for me. It's like grand final day for me. It's my AFL team plays in the Anzac Day game every year. Have since 1995. Yes. So.
Good for you there.
Yes. So actually, the first match in 1995 actually ended in a draw. It's been the only draw on Anzac Day, which was 19 years ago. So maybe we'll see a draw today. So yeah, there you go.
When's that?
3:20.
Is that why you're not going to be able to play games this afternoon? Oh, fuck you.
Yep. Hey, look, it could go really badly, and I'll stop watching. And
why don't you just put a TV up in your fucking... You've got two monitors. Put it up on the second monitor and play LOL.
Yeah, I could.
Play Warhammer, and you could watch...
I get pretty involved.
I don't care.
And I'm looking forward to actually just lying down on my bed and just watching it. But maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll use my second screen. Maybe I will.
Ditching me.
Yes. Won't be the it's not the first. Won't be the last.
Ow.
You get that on the big jobs. Anyway, what's been going on with you this week, Christian?
Well, I broke a tooth yesterday at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So that sucked.
As you do.
Yeah. It's like, cool, let's get today done. Break. Well then, I'm just going to suffer for the rest of the shift because, be a man. No, I rang the dentist as soon as they opened. I was like, hey, look, this is what's happened. And we can get you in at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So, 12 hours of excruciating pain because I'd exposed a nerve. For anyone that's experienced that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And for the people who haven't, lucky you. So I went and had my tooth pulled last night and I was in an absolute state. So last night sucked ass. But I'm pushing through and getting it done. At least I'm not fat in the face. Well, I'm still fat in the face, but not as fat in the face as I was yesterday. That's one good thing about the beard is it hides my little neck rollers going on here. But my face was so fucking swollen yesterday. Even before I got the tooth pulled, like my cheek was just like puffy, and I was whiter than a goth. I was so pale, and it was a rough day. But I didn't let it get to me. I just popped painkillers like Tic Tacs and tried to do a bit of singing to distract myself from the pain and to cope with it. Because coping mechanisms are essential.
Yeah, absolutely. So, white as a ghost, hey? Could have called you Casper.
Like, I'm not exactly fucking tan these days anyway. Like, as you can see, like, I'm quite pale.
I can't talk. I barely
Yeah.
see the sun. Mm.
Mm.
Oh well, good. Would you say you're grieving over your tooth?
No. I've got it in the car, actually. I should have brought it in and showed it to
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah, a bit of show and tell. You
Oh,
remember show and
yeah.
tell
Oh, yeah.
from like school?
Do you know how useless I was at that? I always forgot. I always forgot it was my turn for show and tell. And just, no.
What would you show and tell?
Couldn't even tell you on the times that I did remember, like what I
Mm.
did. Actually, I do recall one time my auntie got me so this is like back when I was in primary school, obviously, doing show and tell because you don't do show and tell in high school.
Mm.
And so my auntie had gotten me a Pokedex book. And so this was back on the original 151 Pokemon. So it was the Pokedex, but it was a book. And yeah, I remember taking that to school. I was very excited about it. It was a fucking sick book. Like it was literally like the Pokedex as a book. So it was great. I loved it. Who's your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, it's a good one. Bulbasaur.
No way.
Yeah. Yep.
What do you think mine is?
Look, I mean, I'm not going to say Charizard. It's Charizard, isn't it?
Fucking A, it is.
How do I know?
Because Charizard's like God.
He's pretty cool. But yeah, no, I don't know what it is about Bulbasaur, but yeah. Squirtle's cool too.
Yeah, I like
the water
Blastoise.
Pokemon. Blastoise, yeah. Gyarados. Yeah, Gyarados.
I'm essentially like the human equivalent of Gyarados. Like I was a Magikarp for 18 years of my life, and then I evolved into Gyarados.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, Pikachu. What do you think? What do you think of Pikachu? Yeah, not a fan of Pikachu.
No, it annoys the shit out of me. It's like, you know, Pikachu's just so overrated, and then the entire like series of Pokemon, like it's just like, oh look, my Pikachu. I'm not going to evolve it. I can beat rock Pokemon with my lightning Pokemon. No, you fucking can't. Like, what the fuck?
How do you get Pikachu on a bus?
You Pokemon. All right. Well, what did you do for show and tell?
You know, I can't even remember. I never thought I really had anything to show and tell. Like, I think I brought my football in one day. That's how boring I am. So I probably forgot. I probably forgot too. And I was one of those kids who would bring like a football or a soccer ball to school with them every single day. Yeah,
me too. In high school.
Oh yeah, in high school.
Yeah, we used to play touch footy at every chance we got. So like smoko, morning tea, lunchtime. So you know you're always fucking walking around with your touch football, and like I could do that thing where like you'd hold it like straight up and down, and you'd like flick it so you caught it on your hand, and you'd flick it back around and catch it again. So like you're walking along doing these ones, and it's like I'm really cool.
A party trick. Yeah. So no, I didn't really do much show and tell. So. But yeah, it's only a primary school thing. You don't really do it in high school. And you can't show and tell as an adult or you go to jail. So.
Damn.
Anyway, moving on. This week we're going to talk about grief. Christian came up with this topic. I think he came up with it. He messaged me and was like, let's do an episode on grief. So we came up with it. Great. Good for you. Yeah. No, it's a great topic. It is. It has a lot to it. Well, yeah, it's a great topic to talk about on the podcast.
Something good to bring up, but not something good to experience.
No, quite awful, isn't it?
It's one of those things too. Like it's not something that there's nobody in the world who is exempt from experiencing grief at some point in their life. Like, you know, I guess a lot of mental illnesses, there's a lot of people out there in the world that are never going to be able to relate to it. Even as far as like depression and anxiety, like some people will just never be able to relate to that. But grief, everyone's going to experience that at some point. So welcome to the fucking party, bitches.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And even if you don't, it doesn't have to be, the loss of someone close to you either, does it?
Yep.
So, yeah, lots of different ways that you can feel grief from different experiences.
Yep.
So it's a, what is it? It's a natural emotional response to the loss of someone close. That's a definition that I found, but it also can occur from other things as well. So serious illness, divorce, change in job, losing of job. Good example there is I probably grieved a lot when I lost my job through COVID a few years ago. So yeah. So what are your? I'm not. I was gonna need to structure this in the right way. So I feel like if I ask what your experiences are with grief, we'll be here for a year.
Thanks, bud.
But as we were talking before this podcast, you're still smashing it, as you said. You're still here, even though you've gone through a heap of shit and a heap of grief. But I guess the main thing is, how do you get over it? Where do you start? How do you get over grief?
Be a man.
Right?
Yeah. So, like, personally, I guess for me, I like to say that I'm stubborn, right? So I am just. I think it's probably more than that. Like, I probably downplay myself a lot. Like, I am a very strong person when it comes to mental health and like resilient, but I don't really like to talk about it as much as I probably should, or take ownership of my strengths. And I will normally just say, yeah, I'm too stubborn to fucking let it win. Essentially, it's true though. I'm stubborn when it comes to this sort of stuff. It's just, you know what? This sucks ass, but I'm not going to let it win, because if it wins, then I'm gone. It's as simple as that. With my borderline personality disorder, my first reaction to most situations is, well, I can just kill myself. And so for me to let things get to me, that's going to be my first thought. And, like I mentioned it to you yesterday, where when I broke my tooth, within like the first hour, I think it was, the pain was unbearable. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? I can't afford to go to the dentist. I don't want to keep dealing with this pain. I just going to go home and off myself. And I had to deal with those thoughts for a while. So I had to implement my coping mechanisms and be like, you know what? No, let's find a way around this. And I did. I found a dentist that did Afterpay, and I didn't have to leave work early to go and do it, so I didn't lose income. I just had to suck it up and deal with it for the rest of the day. So I was stubborn. So I'm not going to let it win. But there's other ways to cope with it.
Yeah, but that is a good way though. It's kind of like looking after yourself in a way by, pushing yourself through, not letting it win. Headspace.org have a whole page on grief. Don't know if I agree with a lot of the stuff or all of it. I say like what you should look out for. Obviously, the using of alcohol and drugs. I mean, that's a sort of a given. Although, I can understand how that'll help for a period of time. It's not a healthy, like we've talked about coping mechanisms. That's not a healthy way to do it. It's an unhealthy coping mechanism. It still is a coping mechanism.
Yep.
Things like staying active. Oh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one to do when you're feeling grief. You don't feel like going anywhere or doing anything. So you really just feel like sitting there. But that's even worse sometimes when you're sitting there. It makes you reflect on it all, and then you keep dwelling on it, thinking about it. So I think one of the biggest things that from what I've read is to just keep going with life. Don't let it stop you from doing your day to day. To an extent, you don't want to do the polar opposite and just focus on everything else, because then you're just going to keep shoving it back further and further. And when it does eventually reach boiling point, it'll be a tough run to come back. So there's that as well, but just continuing on with daily activities, your day-to-day life.
Yeah, well, like it's something that I bring up all the time when I'm talking to people. Like, obviously, we've got people that reach out to us for support and chats and stuff like that. And so when someone reaches out to me and they're really struggling to find, that motivation to do anything, one of the things that I always say is that as long as you're moving forward, even if it's by the smallest amount, you're still winning. If you sit there and go stagnant or move backwards, then that's when things become a problem. But if you can take the time out to acknowledge even the smallest of steps forward each day, then it makes a huge difference. And I've said it before, that the smallest and most simplest of things that you can acknowledge is you got out of bed and you had fucking breakfast.
Yeah.
Like, that's a perfect start to the day, or even just you got out of bed, because that means you've put one foot in front of the other and you started to move forward for the day. And it's just acknowledging those little tiny wins are what's going to keep you moving forward. And if you're moving forward, then you're winning.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, take those little steps. And as well as that, like, set aside some time to deal with the grief as well. Kind of similar to what I talked about earlier in terms of, like, don't let it all build up. Go about your day, but take some time. Like, grief is one of those things, there is no immediate fix. And it's not going to be something that goes away for a long period of time or a short period of time. It might just pop up every now and then, especially if you're dealing with the loss of a family member, a pet, and anything like that. You'll do things that might remind you of, that loss. And it might be good to just then take 15 minutes and just really go through some coping mechanisms, give yourself a bit of a breather. Did I say king?
No, I just realized that I've had the League of Legends client running in the background the whole time, and I was like, man, what is this fucking noise? Like, the launcher noise, like the wind and the birds and shit. I was just like,
yeah, right.
Fuck.
So I have that turned off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just doing things like that. So that's going to help. The other thing as well is there's actually a Griefline in Australia, which I only found out about today.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm going to throw that in the description, along with all of the other fantastic support numbers that are available to everyone to reach out to if you're needing that assistance. The Griefline, that's what it's called. It's called the Griefline. So if you are struggling with grief, check the link in the description and go have a look at that.
So, obviously, we've both experienced grief before. So, how did you cope with your grief? Like, how did you move forward?
Yeah, well, I've only got a couple of examples. I might use this example because I I haven't really had a lot of. I've been really fortunate. Haven't had a lot of close family members like pass, so I haven't really had to deal with a strong amount of grief in that sense. However, watching my grandmother pass, obviously I felt a little bit of grief with that. But I think the hardest part was watching if your grandparents pass, watching your parents go through grief. Uh, that's tough. That's really, really tough, especially because your whole life your parents are kind of these. They just always you grow up thinking your parents are just okay, and you would probably understand this. Having kids as well, like you sort of just always that wall, and that's what your kids see. So when you see your parents, when and I'm sure they would with you. They can see that you're a mighty fine, strong man.
Oh no, my kids, my kids have seen me in some horrible, like, mental health days before. I try to hide them away from it. Generally, if I'm having a particularly hard time, I'll message their mother and be like, "Hey, look, I'm not in a good headspace. Like, I can't see the kids today."
Yeah.
And I'll wait until I'm in a better headspace, and I'll give them a video chat. But they've seen me, like when they've stayed over, and there's no avoiding it. And
Yeah.
they've seen me where I've just wanted to curl up and cry, and that sucks. Like, because you're not wrong. Like, growing up, I always saw my parents, and dad was a typical male, like, everything's fine, is what it is.
Yep.
Never cry, like, just getting it done, going to work, all that sort of shit. So, I like saw that, and like, I'm not ashamed that my kids have seen me in a bad place before.
I don't
but
think that's a bad
no.
thing at all. Like, because like we think about it, okay. So we think about like how you saw your dad. It's similar to me as well. And then when you do eventually see that, like you go 20 plus years without seeing them break, at all, or see any sign of like that kind of sadness, or that's so weird to experience. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I feel like that's actually a really that's such a nice thing for your kids to probably see. But yeah, so I guess in terms of like getting back to the grief, helping others go through the grief, that's a tricky thing. How do you deal with that? Well, I mean, you've just got to be there. You just got to be that rock. You just support them in the best way that you can. It's not, don't push them anyway. Don't try and solve the problems for them. It's a similar kind of process to helping someone going through some mental health issues and things like that. We've talked about on other episodes. So I sort of just took that approach when it came to that. Grieving for the loss of the job. Didn't cope with that at all very well. Very many amounts of unhealthy coping mechanisms. And it took me 6 months before I kind of, I don't know, call it an epiphany or whatever you want to call it, kind of snapped and went, I got to make a change. So time, there you go. Time. Yeah, time. It'll take time. And for me, it took six months. And even then, it still took a little bit of time just because of all the lifestyle changes that I ended up having to make and all that sort of things, etc. But yeah, like that 6 months, that first 6 months of 2020, lost the job through COVID. Yeah, it took all that 6 months, every single day to, I guess, get over that grief. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing too. Like, bring it back to how do you support someone who's going through grief? It's, you can't fix it. Like, you can't.
No.
It's going to take time, and all you can do is be there and support them in whatever way they feel comfortable or you feel comfortable, like whether it's just checking in with a message or offering to hang out. Like, obviously, don't get offended if they say no to hanging out because they might not want to hang out. Like, it, don't take it personally. It's just how they're coping at the time, and just ride it out with them. Just show them that you're there to help out if you can. And that's really all you can do if someone's going through grief. And like Caleb said, there's so many different forms of grief that will rise up in people's lives. And it just because you don't identify it as grief, that may very well be what it is. And, you know, Caleb's example of losing his job, a lot of people wouldn't consider that something to grieve over, but it is. And there's just even like getting a mental health diagnosis or a health issue, getting a diagnosis for that. Like, people might grieve over that.
Yeah.
And it's not up to us to dictate what is and isn't grief, because it is.
Yeah.
You just have to shut up and accept it and help out.
Yeah, that's right. And but even not even just loss, but someone that you care about, or, you know, very close with, like watching them getting hurt. Yeah, you can grieve over that as well. You can feel grief over that, and so then there's many different types, as we said, and the experience of grief is different for everyone. So it's going to be different, you know, for you as it is to me, as to, you know, everyone else listening. You're going to go through it in a completely different way to everyone else, and I think that's something that is really important to understand, what it is that you need and how you need to be able to get through that particular time, and just understanding that, yes, the main cure, or not that there is a cure, but the best thing that you can do is just let time ride out. And that's the tricky part, because time hurts. So the longer you've got to deal with something, the harder it becomes. The more you'll want to turn to negative coping mechanisms, and that's just where it can get messy. So just look after yourself if you are grieving.
Yeah. So when you actually, I won't drag you into. I already asked you questions on your grief, so I'll talk about this one. So another thing they bring up on that Headspace webpage is changes in your body. And so it says our mind and body are closely connected, so it makes sense that grief can have a big impact on our bodies, and you may experience headaches, stomach aches, body aches, weight changes, changes to your sleep, changes to eating routines, colds, tiredness, and generally feeling sick and run down. And for me, yep, when I experienced grief when I moved to South Australia. So I left all my friends and family behind and moved down here with my ex-wife now. And not long after we got down here, she became my ex-wife. So I got hit with a nice big double whammy of grief. And it ruined me physically. So obviously mentally it fucking steamrolled me. But the physical effects of grief were huge. Like, I stopped eating. I got sick really easy and quite often too, like on a weekly basis. It was just like, oh, look, I've got another cold. Or you'd wake up and you'd be like, cool, I've got a fucking headache again today. And it's crazy just the effects that grief can have on you. Like, not only your mental health, it can make you physically sick and tired and sore, and just it's huge.
Yeah, changes to your sleep as well, you know, with things like that. You know, grief can do that, and then all those other things, like, you know, spiral out of effect after that. You know, we talked about sleep last week. Yeah, we did last week. So we talked about how important that is, and we talked about the different things that can happen when you're not getting enough sleep. And so that's what happens. Grief can stop you from getting a great sleep, which then causes a whole massive amount of other things. So yeah,
I don't
a
think we
good
brought
example.
up that you can get easily sick when you don't have enough sleep.
Well, no, I don't think we did, but absolutely you can. If you're not sleeping, it just means that your body's more not as immune to, it's more.
It's susceptible.
That's the word I'm looking for. Yes. So, yeah, get sleep. Go to bed. I've been actually, since we did that episode, I feel like I've been a little bit better with it over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think we have. There's definitely been a lot less later nights. Like,
yeah,
before we did that episode, it was easy for me. Well, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was very much a common occurrence to be staying up till like 11 o'clock my time.
I'm pretty sure the day before we recorded that episode, we were up till 3 in the morning playing video games. So, maybe we both had an epiphany and was like, oh, shit, we really need to change this. But yeah, no, I've been getting into bed by 10:30, which may sound really late to a lot of people, but is actually quite early for me. And I found that I've been getting a lot better sleep over the last couple of weeks. So,
yeah, I found that I stopped doom scrolling before bed.
Yeah.
So, I'll sit here and chat to you before bed. And then say, all right, now this is the last game. Then we're out. And then I'll just put my phone on the charger and go straight to bed. There's no laying there scrolling through Instagram, looking at reels. And it's helped, because we'd stay up till 10, 11 o'clock. And then I'd go to bed and then I'd stay there for half an hour doom scrolling. And it's like getting rid of that means I'm half an hour earlier to bed and I'm in a better position to go to sleep. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Took my own advice.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, we talk a lot of shit. We do, but these things do work that we talk about on the podcast, and we don't just preach and then don't try. I think we've tried a lot of these things that we do talk about as well. If we weren't already doing them, so yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't take it as the gospel, the Bible, but yeah, these things work. Yeah. Yes. So, do you want to talk about any more about grief? I think we've covered off a fair bit. The worst thing that I've probably grieved over is the loss of a pet. That's probably the worst thing. But
yeah, actually, I could probably talk about that. Like that was probably one of the better ways that I've coped with grief. So we had 2 Great Danes, so Ragnar and Rollo, and Ragnar. They were both rescue dogs. They were both adopted through rescue agencies, so they had a shit start to life. And I'm gonna cry. I can already feel it. Whatever. So Ragnar was our baby. He was our first one. So we got these guys with like Kim and I together, and Ragnar was our first child. And when he had a lot of problems with one of his legs, and it was just being a Great Dane. He's Great Dane cross Mastiff, so he wasn't full Great Dane, but he was still a horse of a dog. And he had problems with his legs, and he ended up having really bad problems with one of them. And so we took him to the vet, and they were like, look, we could operate on his leg, but because his other leg is already, it's not good, the chances of him making it through and recovering are just, it's not gonna there's no point giving you a statistic on it, because he's just, the strain of trying to recover the operated leg, it's going to be too much for his other leg, so he's just going to go downhill. So we were like, okay. They're like, look, we can give you pain meds for him and see if rest and that brings his his leg back, and we're like, yep, let's do that. And he made the decision himself that he was done. So it lasted for a couple of days where he took his meds, and then he just gave up. He refused to take his meds. He stopped eating, and so we had to make the decision to take him to the vet and do what we had to do. So, Kim and I were in the waiting room with him when it went down, and just gave him lots of love.
Yeah.
And so that was a hard day, and they were like, what do you want to do with the body? So we're like, we're going to take him home and we're going to bury him in the yard. So Kim and I were obviously quite upset, and we went home and we dug a grave for him. And digging that grave for him was one of the best decisions we'd made, because it helped so much with the grieving process.
Really.
And we buried him. I read a Viking prayer, because, he's Ragnar, he's a Viking.
Yeah.
And we built a little can, like a little stone can on top of his grave, and spelt his name out in pebbles. Oh, fuck. And, it was really, really healing going through that process. Like, instead of just rolling over and accepting defeat, like, just, got to do this for Raggy. And, it really helped. Like, it obviously it still hurt like shit.
Yeah, of course.
But doing something positive, like making something positive out of it, and having that little shrine to him, so I could go and have a beer and have a chat to him, made it a lot easier to cope with the grief. And that's something that, like, that Headspace website brings up. Creating something to remember the good times.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I was going to say, well, that's really interesting that you're saying that really helps, because I've been reading that being able to kind of have a proper, send off as well, gives you something to remember them by, and can really help with your grief. So, well done for getting through that. That's not an easy story to tell.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, we've talked about some awesome things about grief, some terrible things about grief, and we've really covered off a lot of aspects about grief. So remember, I'm going to put the hotline in the description, and if you do need to reach out to those, any of those numbers, please do so.
Just one more thing, like the last point they make too.
Oh, yes.
Very important. And that's to take it easy on yourself.
Yes.
To accept that grief hurts, is hard, it takes time, and that sometimes you're going to feel confused, overwhelmed, angry, a whole range of emotions, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with experiencing grief, because everyone in the world will experience it at some time.
Yes.
And it's fucking hard to experience, so don't be hard on yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And
like Caleb says at the end of every episode, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was driving around the other day, and someone had that on the back of their car, and I was like, that's cool. I was like, I like that. But yeah, so even having a good cry, it's okay to have a good cry. Our first episode was about that. We talked about how important it is to have a good cry. So if you haven't actually listened to that episode or seen that episode, go back and look at us in our first episode. So 13 episodes ago? Feels like a lifetime ago now. Yeah, right. But yeah, so well rounded off. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll get back into the podcast in just a moment. The Pain in Our Head podcast is proudly sponsored by Music Magic Co. and Brisbane rock band The Flying Circus. Visit the links in the podcast description for more information. Back to the show. Welcome back to the Pain in Our Head podcast. Thank you very much for sticking around. Not that our sponsor segment is very long at all. All of what, 10 seconds. But no, we appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. We've been talking about grief and talked about heaps of different things. It's been a great discussion, talking about how to get over some grief, some things that can help with grief, and what types of events that you can go through that you may feel grief from. So it's been good, been very good.
Yeah.
We shared some good stories. We had a good cry, but now we're going to talk about some music. So I got some great music lined up today. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That every week.
I do say that every week, but I'm very excited about these two tracks. Yeah, I'm going to share two tracks. I've been a little bit selfish today. But would you like to go first? Then, seeing as I've got two that I'm going to ramble on about.
Yeah, okay.
Sick. Do it to it.
So my track has nothing to do with grief whatsoever, but it's my grief song. I listen to this song all the time, but especially when shit just hits the fan for me, and I don't know why, but it's just my go-to song. I wouldn't say it particularly makes me cry or feel anything in particular. It's just the song that I really need to hear when I'm really fucking sad. So that song is Save Our Now by Devin Townsend. And I love Devin Townsend. He is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful person, and was the lead singer and guitarist for Canadian band Strapping Young Lad, and then they disbanded and he started the Devin Townsend Project, and it's been a journey. It's been an absolute journey from album to album, watching how he's just evolved, I guess. He's got an amazing voice.
Yeah.
An absolutely amazing voice. His vocal range is phenomenal, and it's very unique. Like when you hear Devin sing, you're like, that's Devin Townsend. There's no mistaking it. And he also sings his screams, which is really fucking cool. Like he's screaming vocals, like his metal vocals are still singing, and it's fucking magical to hear. So yeah, I listen to Save Our Now whenever I want to, but when I'm really experiencing a bit of grief, that's my go-to song. And another one of his, ER, IH-AH. I know I've got you to listen to that before, and I know I made you listen to the live version of it. They use a little acoustic one.
Yes.
And definitely got to add both of those songs now that I think about it. And they're both beautiful, beautiful songs. And yeah, they just make me feel. I guess I can't even describe it. It's just something that I need to hear at the time.
Very creative.
Not exclusively. Like I've listened to them. Sorry, fuck, that come out of nowhere. Listen to them all the time anyway. So yeah, no, he's great. Like he's a producer. Like we were talking about it yesterday. Like he produces everything, and also produces other bands as well. Has his own studio, does the guitar work and all of his own stuff and the vocals, and just absolute master. Just very talented.
Some very creative stuff. Just the stuff that he comes up with, like, he's just fantastic. Yeah. he comes up with all that. It's awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed the album that you told me to go listen to the other day. Which one was that? Is it Destruction?
Deconstruction.
Deconstruction. Yeah. That was a roller coaster. Yeah, but a really cool roller coaster. So yeah, fantastic music.
All right, what do you got for us?
I got a few. Like I said, I got two. First one I want to talk about is Lifetime by 3 Days Grace. And I made the mistake of watching the video clip before we started recording the podcast today and had to stop because I was on the verge of bawling my eyes out. Because it is very sad and it talks about grief. And it's a beautiful song. And it's only recently released. So it came out in 2022. It was on their Explosions album. And I've like a lot of other 3 Days Grace stuff. I do.
Yeah.
Animal I Have Become. Oh, what a song. Great song. But yeah, this one.
I Hate Everything About You.
I Hate Everything About You. Another great song.
Break.
Yeah, they got some
Painkiller.
Oh, that's a good song. I haven't heard that for a while. So yeah, well, 3 Days Grace, we haven't brought them up on the podcast before, so I thought this was really fitting, and especially this particular song. So it's called Lifetime, and it was actually, I think they did it for a little bit of like a relief. I don't know if they started a relief fund for the Mayfield tornado that went through Mayfield in Kentucky, and yeah, what a powerful song. And some of the chorus just breaks me every time. It's you were the one that I wasn't supposed to lose. I thought I'd have you for my lifetime. The line that kills me every time is, who do I talk to when I want to talk to you?
Oh, damn.
Right? That just breaks me apart. So, and I can understand, they've done so well with this song and the lyrics that he's used, that they've used to kind of push across that message of grief and what a lot of those people would have been feeling at the time. We've lost a lot of loved ones, and they, didn't expect to, you don't know. There's another line. Where is it? I gotta find it because it's awful. It's really, really good. Something like along the lines of, saw you for the last time and didn't know. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Awful. So
it's like that line in Youth of the Nation by POD.
Yeah, great song.
Last day of the rest of my life, I wish I would have known because I'd have kissed my mama goodbye and thank my thoughts for the talks and the wisdom he shared.
Yeah. Oh, great song. Good song. Love that
song.
Yeah.
Banger.
Yeah. Do you know how I first came across POD? I was really big into wrestling when I was younger. Of course I was, right? And my favourite wrestler at the time was the guy in the mask, Rey Mysterio. Anyway, his theme song or whatever, they all have theme songs when they come out. POD did his theme song.
Which one was it? Boom.
No, 619. I think it's called Boyaka, if you actually want the name of it. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's how I came across POD. Yeah, a good band. Anyway, go watch go have a look at Lifetime. Don't watch the video if you're having a sad day because it'll just make it worse. It's an amazing video. It's really lovely. They put it all together. It's kind of him walking through the disaster, the aftermath of the disaster zone, and there's some parts in there that just kill me. There's some what?
I just realised I missed a massive opportunity on a grief song.
Did you really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's all right. You can bring it up.
Finish yours.
Yep. Anyway, that was it really. But yeah, just an amazing video. There's parts in there where the part that I had to stop, right? So we're about halfway through it, and they're showing visual footage of dogs who had to go to like rescue or the pound, or because their owners were not anymore. And just I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I'm going to just not okay with that at all. But it's done really beautifully. It's awesome, an amazing song. Yeah. So anyway, talk about your missed opportunity, and then I'll mention my other song.
To the Flowers While She Sleeps. That music video is the best fucking example of someone dealing with grief.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yep. It's an amazing video clip. I didn't enjoy this is the one where I wasn't a fan of the music, but the not that I wasn't a fan of the music. I'm glad the video clip. I watched it with the video clip because I think if I just listened to the music, I would have been like, yeah, not bad. But you've got to watch the video clip. That's really good.
Yeah, like just an absolute masterpiece of a guy going through his journey of grief. Like, he meets the love of his life. They get together and experiencing life, and then they have a miscarriage, and then she overdoses on drugs, and it's like it's him trying to like cope with it and like reminiscing through all the memories and stuff, and it's just it's so fucking and it's directed by the band as well, so like it's amazing. Like they've just really fucking hit a masterpiece there. Like just the portrayal of grief is just so well done.
It's done really well. Yeah, that's a fantastic thing about music sometimes like that, especially music and film together, like audio visual. I studied a lot of audio visual through uni, and a lot of my reporting and a lot of my research was very honed in on audio visual, and the ability that audio and visual together can come together and make some type of meaning. And it's fantastic how they were able to do that and present that meaning of grief. So yeah, good example. Yeah, missed opportunity, but I'm glad you remembered it during the podcast, not not after we finished, and you called me like a day later and be like, completely missed an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I'm fucking chuffed.
Yeah.
So what's your other song?
My other song, there's two versions of this, but I'll stick with a recent one. It's Gone Away by The Offspring, but the 2021 version. So they redo it, they re-record it. And you think of Gone Away, it's I can't remember what album that initially came out on all those years ago, 92, maybe Americana, maybe. But Gone Away, very vast, like pop punk, awesome, great, awesome track. They re-released it and re-recorded it, and it came out in 2021 with their most recent album, and it's completely slowed down. It's just amazing. Yeah, it's just a really, really, really good difference between what the song was, and they've changed the way that it sounded, and it doesn't change the meaning, because the meaning behind the song is always exactly the same. It's the same lyrics, but it hits you a little bit differently, I think, and it's almost like two different stages of grief. When you listen to the first version, very fast and very aggressive. The second version, very slow, very soft, and just really sad. Just a really, really sad song. Like, yeah, Gone Away. We've all heard that one by Offspring. You know the one I'm talking about?
I would, but I can't off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay. Gone Away. Let me see if I can get some lyrics. Oh, so fantastic. It's one of those like leaving flowers on your grave to show that I still care. Black roses and Hail Marys. Yeah. And it feels like heaven's so far away.
Oh,
and it
yes.
stings, and it stings, and now the world is so cold. Now that you've gone away.
Yep, I
gone
do. As soon as you
away.
hit the chorus, I was like, yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. It's a great chorus. But yeah, like, it feels like heaven's so far away. That's awful.
And I'm not even going to ask you who sings that song.
I don't know who sings it.
But I wasn't mean this time.
No, you weren't mean this time. No, look, I can't sing it as well as him.
Well, who can though? He's got such a unique voice.
Very unique voice. And I was wrong, by the way. This came out on the album that was released in '97. Which, yeah, good year, '97. Something else was released in '97.
Nothing of note.
Nothing of note. Yeah. So
you fucking child.
So yeah, there were two songs. So yeah, Gone Away by The Offspring. I'll add both of them, I think, to the playlist. There, I'll add the '97 version and the 2021 version. But how cool is that though? Imagine like an original song that you've done '97, and then 2021 you re-release it, re-record it, re-release it, and it's just as good. So
that means we both got 3 songs this week that we're adding.
We do. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome. The playlist is looking awesome. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. We have a podcast Spotify playlist where we add all of the songs that we talk about each week on the podcast to this Spotify playlist. So if you are interested in, instead of having to go back and forward and finding exactly the name of what we're talking about, it'll be on that podcast playlist. I think it's just called the Pain in Our Head podcast music playlist. It's on Spotify. It's also it's in the description. So,
cool,
great, good episode. Again, we've gotten to this point, like last week. No idea what we're talking about next week.
No.
Winging it. I will take some time and I will figure out what the next good chunk of episodes are going to look like. But I'm sure we'll have something very exciting for you next week. So thanks again for tuning in. We will see you next week. Until then, it's okay to not be okay.
See you later.